Alex, we mentioned on the previous video about one of the criticisms of virtual meetings being people aren't engaged, and one of the things that is often I think lacking is whatever platform you're using, be it Teams, Zoom, or WebEx, or whatever it might be. There are a lot of tools on there that people just simply do not use. So I'm just wondering, from your experience, Alex, what are the top tools that you can use to get those levels of engagement up?
Yeah, it's a great question, Gareth. And I think one thing to re-emphasize what you've just said there is that this is platform agnostic. It doesn't matter what platform you're using, you can do all of these things. And there are many ways of doing it. We've happened to develop our way of doing it, which I'm going to share some of my thoughts on. The key thing of this is that you need to be planning for regular involvement. So we would suggest every 4 minutes, okay? Particularly in a meeting where you've got multiple people. Okay, every 4 minutes, but also variety of the spice of life. So you're not always using the same source of involvement. And the ways of involving people are many and varied. Anything from chat right through to polling people would be that range.
Okay, so what difference does it make? You mentioned polls, you mentioned chat, and you mentioned regular levels of engagement. What difference does that make to people in a meeting?
Well, massively so, because you're drawing them in. And if we look at each of the modes of involvement, it is all rather different. So, for example, if we took chat, it's something that people are very familiar with and generally use at will. But if you use chat to drive input, the joy of chat is that what you can do, let's just say you've got half a dozen people in your meeting, you can get half a dozen inputs from people simultaneously, which is really rich, of course, but then also gives you the opportunity to bring people in to expand on their comments. So it's a very spontaneous, easy, and immediate way of doing that. Something like an annotation tool allows people to plot on a graph, for example, where they think things should be, so to get some input from it. But then you can extend that to one of the many whiteboards that's out there. So, for example, let's just say we talk about Google Jamboards, so free to use, easy to access. In effect, what you have there is a live tool, very much like you'd use a flip chart with sticky notes that people can all contribute to simultaneously, moving sticky notes around and so on to, if you like, brainstorm ideas or use for a creativity session. Some of the more common ones that people use are breakout rooms. They're often used rather badly because people get to a breakout room and don't know what they're supposed to be doing. So careful briefing of the breakout room is an essential part of making that work effectively. And then finally, the one that we use often is polls. These can be done spontaneously and in the moment, or they can be pre-planned as part of what you're doing, but it's a great way of particularly getting a large group view on a question or a dilemma that you might have. So to summarize many different ones, variety is the key, but regular, very, very frequent, and right throughout the course of the duration of your meeting is important.
Great tips, Alex. And again, you take one or two of those things, give it a go, and then build it up as those things succeed. I guess are some of the key things. You don't have to do all of them at once.
No, absolutely. You need to be familiar, deeply familiar with the one that you chose to use, but integrate them slowly over a period of time, and it will equip you with those skills that are so important right now.